Hello, hola, shalom, and welcome to Problem Solver Podcast, where men and women of all ages come together, inspire, motivate, share their stories, real talk. Let's get started. I'm your co-host, Chloe, along with my girl, Dagmar's in the house. Hi, Daggy.
Hi, Chloe. Excited about the topic? Ready
You
to get
are?
started?
I know you get right into it. I love it. Guys, listen, this is, if you have a German aunt or a grandmother, this is it, right? Boom, let's get started. Let's go right now. Done. What are we doing? How are we doing?
I like it a lot because what I value changed so much depending on in what phase of life I have been. And now looking back, it's fun, right? So now I'm at the point in midlife, I value the most inner peace, no matter if it's in my business, with the kiddies, when I'm with friends for dinner, when I go out to the supermarket, inner peace. Going into an environment where there's a high anxiety or a high negative energy, I can handle it, but it's not what I enjoy. Where, let's say in my 30s, I didn't mind. I did not mind. Like, I was more about feeling alive when perhaps you had a heated discussion or you were doing something, whatever, what really challenged you. Now, no, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. How about you?
I mean, it's somewhat similar. Mine is what I value most is to be around very good positive vibes and energy wherever I go. So similar. So for me, I want my days to be, and I'm more regimented. In my 30s, I was not, but I'm more organized in the sense that I like to be disciplined and I like to have my days. I don't want things to fly up all over the place because some negative energy came in or a vibe got messed up. So I try to stay on track. So for me, it's really, I value sticking to a schedule, keeping the vibes and the energy really good, especially in my environment where I live. And I also value, and I used to value this so much, and I kind of forgot for a little while, is laughter. And I don't know why, because you know me, I'm constantly joking. I'm constantly making people laugh. I always have something to say, but I want to bring more laughter back into my life because there was in my 20s, which is, I do miss this. I don't miss other things about my 20s, but I miss constantly laughing like every single day, laughing so hard, have to run to the bathroom kind of laughter. And I still have some of it now, but I really value um, a great story, which is what we do on here, and just laughter and joy and smiling, because smiling is so important. So what does that mean to you though in terms of the inner peace?
Let me just say something. In my 20s, I valued traveling a lot. Oh my God. I love traveling through the world, through the country, through the neighbor countries, getting to know new people, new cultures, new environments, new food. Like I soak it all in. When you're so young in your 20s and you come from a culture who is so old, right? Old. And it's like at that point in Germany, mostly you had people familiar with the culture. So everybody thought the same when you talked about different holidays, you talked about your upbringing, was all the same. So everybody could totally relate to it in a second. And then by traveling and like in all, to all the different continents, and now suddenly totally different culture. Like you only have to learn new things, like your upbringing totally different. That I valued a lot because it opened up my mind, made me much more empathetic for others, and helped a lot to strengthen my intuition and just seeing things from a different perspective.
That's interesting that you talk about that because I've always loved to travel and I value that as well, but I still value it. I mean, you know, I every year I go on a big trip every summer. Now that since I have Oliver, it's changed a little bit. I'm traveling a little bit less. But for instance, I already have two, you know, at the end of February, I'm going to New York for a big party. And then I'm going to Sardinia and London and Corsica in May. So I've always valued travel. Um, I got to grow up between New York and Jamaica. So, and I was going to Europe. Most of my friends, just so you know, like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, everyone I knew, and this is most people, and they can chime in. Everyone was going to Florida, like where we live now, right? It was like, where are you going for the break? You're going to Florida, you know? People weren't going, or in the summer, maybe they were going to California. No one was going to Italy and France. And so I was lucky to be able to do that. I've been to Asia, but travel, I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm always going to value travel. And then obviously family. I mean, family is a very important part of my life. I'm lucky that my brother and my parents live close by. I don't have a huge Italian family like some people. I got 5 aunts here, I got 3 uncles, I got my brothers and my sisters. You know, they have these like massive, my family's not huge. I have a cousin in Hollywood down the street. And um, talking about extended family, my parents' best friends, my dad since he was 5 years old, they're here for the winter. So there's always like family and friends around, which I really value having that time with all them. I would so rather go to my parents' condo and sit with everybody and look at the cruise ships go out because they live on the beach and have a drink and relax and laugh with whatever family member is visiting or friend, then go to the bars in loud environments and sit there and try to order a drink. You can't get the bartender's attention. I mean, I used to love that in New York City in my 20s and early 30s. There was nothing I loved more than going to the bar, the club, and being in the scene. It's the last thing on earth that I value now on the weekends. The very last, which is crazy because all of a sudden there's just a shift, you know?
Right. So I don't do it anymore, but I really think about it. So with so much happiness and so much joy as I was a child and then teenager and young adult, like when you live in these little villages, they always have like whatever, Oktoberfest, and then they have Kirchweih, and they have like in spring, they have kind type of Halloween. It's like Fastnacht or Carnival, where the old ghosts need to get pushed out so the young ghosts, the spring can come in. And oh my God, it was the highlight of my life, right? You could not, for weeks, you were waiting for it. And then you got new clothes for it. And then they had dancing and the carnival and like the burnt almonds and the waffles and the popcorn. And it was like, oh my God, you could dream about it for weeks. And that was just all you lived for next to school and next to meeting friends. And I love that. It was like this happiness and this joy I felt there. It was so pure to just being in the moment and seeking it all in. And it was beautiful. Today, when I see Carnival, I drive by. I don't want to go to Carnival anymore. Like there's nothing what I would enjoy today, but I think everything happens for the right time, right? Depending on what your heart is seeking. If you make it come true, that's where the happiness and the joy is in the value.
Absolutely. And I think that's the best part of what memories are, is we can look back and smile. I have those moments of nostalgia too when I go back and like old photo albums where my dad starts whipping out old pictures or will send me something and it'll spark a memory. I had something similar to that, like in the summers, we in the house in New York. So we would be in Jamaica most of the summer and all the holidays, but part of the summer before, like as soon as school ended, that first month, because we had 3 months off in the summer, we would go to our club and we could walk there. And it was on the beach. It was on the Long Island Sound, and there were clay tennis courts, and there were sailing and paddleball and big sports families. So I'd run down there. My dad would book a court time, and he would drive, and I would go along the beach along this wall, and I'd meet him there, and I'd say, "Well, let's see who could get there faster because you can't drive along the beach." He would have to go all the way around and go down different streets to get to the club. It was like kind of saying who's going to get there first. And sometimes Dylan would meet. And if he was like too tired, because he'd always go out at a young age with like girls or whatever, he and my mom would meet us for lunch. And I loved spending time there and then swimming with my friends and and just running around the club and, being like silly little girls. So I valued that so much. And I understand that because those are beautiful memories that we have and that we love. And childhood, especially if you have a decently good childhood, those things are so important. You could taste the cotton candy. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like it's right there.
yeah. I tell you, in my childhood, we went to the forest and then we played there cowboy and Indians in the forest on our own. We were like, whatever, 5 years old. I
Wow.
mean, and
That's
then we
amazing.
picked up the little branches and made us a little house and pretended we would cook the little nuts we found. And then in the summertime, we had all little creeks around us. And in the summertime, the water was so shallow, you could go in and barely your feet were wet, but you could find glass like from centuries ago or ceramic and things like that. So, and we played pirates, right? And we imagined we had our little pirate boat and there were trees on the side of the creeks and it was just so innocent.
I love
It
that.
was such a pure, innocent joy I still have in my heart. And looking back, I'm so grateful I had that. I cannot envision today if I would have a child, a 5-year-old child, send it alone to the forest to play in the forest. And it doesn't matter with other 5-year-old children. I mean,
Can't
like,
do that today.
yeah, or in the little creeks or whatever.
Yeah. It's different times.
Yeah.
It's like, think about it, you probably left the doors open all night, right? No one locked anything or it was
Not in the night, but in the daytime for sure.
yeah.
Because the
It's
neighbors come in the daytime. They knock and come in.
right. That's interesting. In Jamaica, the same thing. Anyone just comes over whenever they want. But there is an innocence to all that because you're so young and impressionable. You haven't formed really any fears yet or anxieties or
Right.
stress, and you're just running around and life is so good. And I just remember, I would be like 10, 12, and I'd be like, I'm so cool. I can go to the club by myself and my mom, stay on the wall. Don't go down on the beach, although I was an excellent swimmer already. Stay along the wall, keep your racket behind, don't talk to anybody, just like zoom down there. But I felt so free because those 8 minutes I was allowed to be by myself. We lived in a very safe neighborhood. We had our own little police station. So it was like never anything to worry about. But I just felt like they gave me such independence to be able to walk. Then sometimes Dylan wanted to come because he was my young. I'd be like, you know, he's 4 years younger. I'd be like, oh, I'm 12, you're 8, you're going to hold me back. I'm like, please. So I want to focus. I want to go. And he'd be like running behind me. Anytime I'm in New York and I go to Long Island and I drive by the neighborhood and I go past my house and the people that bought it 15 years ago, they still live there. Actually, it's more. It's almost 20 years. Yeah. They 15, 16 years. They still own the house, and I used to be able to go and to see it, and the last few times I texted her, she's like, "Oh, we're kind of out of town," or I don't think she wants me to come anymore, which is fine. But, we had my parents owned that house for like 30 years or more. So it's nice though to know that they're still there. They did a very good job. The house looks beautiful. They asphalted the driveway, which we hated because we had beautiful stones there. But it's nice to drive by and see and go to the beach and then just walk down to the beach and go to the club. I can still go to the club. I can pull up in there. I'm like, Florida. They're like, who are I'm like, don't, we ran this place in the 90s and late 80s and 90s. Don't worry about it. Everybody knows us. And actually, true story, the president of the club held my parents' membership for 5 years. So when you leave, there's a 10-year waiting list to get in simply because it's on the Long Island Sound. It's directly on the beach, there's a pool, the tennis courts, the clubhouse, and everyone that lives in that neighborhood, really, they want to be there, they want to kind of get involved. So it's great for families and growing up. So because the waiting list was so long, we didn't want to drop off and then have to wait. So he held for my parents because he adored my dad. Shocker for 5 years. 5 years. So I would still go there with my parents. I mean, they're like, wait, are you guys still members? I'm like, don't worry about it. And they were like half. Remember? So after that 5th year, my dad said, guys, it's expensive. We're not really there anymore. And Dylan and I were like, it was a loss for us because I love to be able to just, even if I wasn't with my parents, just go there for dinner and see friends that I grew up with because everyone still belonged there. So you meet these kids when you're 8, 10 years old and the parents are like 35. And now you're in your 40s and the parents are like 70, right? And everyone, it's still people you know. So that I really enjoyed and value. I really value that. I'm going to go look at some photos when we get off because you prompted me to remind me to always remember our youth and value all of that because it's so important.
Yeah. I think the other thing is what I just thought about. As I was younger, the value came intuitively, didn't think of about it. I just followed my desire, right? As a child, like you do what makes you feel good and what makes you happy. And then as a teenager and young adult, the same. So now I create my value. I create my inner peace. I work on holding my inner peace, maintaining my inner peace. Like I do Kabbalah, I do tummy breathing, I do when I feel my nervous system reacting and I feel out of alignment. Like I use a lot of castor oil and just do liver pads and stuff like that, which I know by feeling out of alignment, for me personally, I create toxins, negative toxins. I create toxins and then I need to flush them out of my body because if I let them stay in my body, it's so difficult to regulate my nervous system and go back to my value, right? Holding my inner peace. So now it takes effort compared to as I was a child or in my 20s or in my 30s. In my 40s, I think my value was mostly family and business. And now I'm at the point, if I can hold my inner peace, everything around me, no matter if it's family or business or the kiddies or hobbies or whatever I do, I will have the same base.
That's amazing. Being able to hold inner peace and to have a very kind of Zen mentality. It's not easy today because there's so much going on around us and there's so much technology, which this is why I don't like technology because it spins and there's all these things going on. And I like to go back to basics, but keeping the inner peace and your inner, I almost want to say sanity in a way, right? To stay sane in our minds. And because everything that happens up here affects us and the rest of our body, right? So the mind is so powerful. That's why I'm so impressed by professional athletes that are in a one man sport or a one woman sport because everything is up here, right? So I I like to look at the equivalent as the number one tennis player in the world is this guy named Yannick Sinner. He's Italian, but he's all the way from the north, and he's gingy, and he's really pale, and he's the skinniest arms and the skinniest legs. And you see some of these other guys like Ben Shelton and Tiafoe and Tommy Paul, and this guy Pericard. He's like 6'11", this big French guy, and these guys are massive, and they're big and they're strong. And this guy's like string. He's like a string bean, but he was a professional skier. And I look at him and I go, it's all mental. He's beating everybody because his mental strength and what he values in himself and he knows that he can do is why he's number one, not because he's the little skinny guy in the block. You know what I mean? So I think that we have to focus on not only what we value, but what we think we can accomplish by saying to ourselves, I value this. I want this to happen. I don't want this in our life. And we have the right to choose. Like Marcy always says, no one has access to my energy. So if you walk into a room and you're at a party and you feel the energy is like crazy off, maybe the people that are hosting it just had an argument and you're the first to arrive and you feel that when you first get there, you can choose and say, you know what? I forgot something. I'll be back in a half an hour. And then when you come back, there's 40 people there and all the energy shifts and you go, okay, now I know to stay. You have the right to do that.
Yes. I think what's also interesting, what you just said, so you referred to negative energy from the outside. I experience negative energy from the inside, like comparison, that I compare myself with others, that I'm sometimes bitter. Sometimes I feel selfish. So I think I read a book or I saw a video about it and said, okay, make yourself aware of whenever you have a negative energy and how often you have a negative energy compared to positive energy, right? Compared to positive self-talk. Oh, you did a great thing today. I love myself. I'm really grateful for my own skills and abilities. And it's amazing when you do that for a day, how often you have negative self-talk coming in and how this affects creating these toxins in your body without the outside environment, right? And I totally agree with you. The outside environment can be tough. So for my inner peace now, it helps me when I'm aware of my negative self-talk and that I can stop it and exchange it with something what's better for me.
I mean, I agree 100%. And we've spoken about this. This is what the power of Kabbalah is about. And the power of now is thinking about what you want, not what you don't want. So keeping all those positive thoughts in, and when the negative comes in, go, no. See, my ego, I don't have a massive ego, but I have a decent sized ego. I
I
don't
don't
get,
have a massive ego.
I don't, I
What an
don't. It's
understatement. Oh
it's
my
not
God.
massive. It's totally normal. It's totally normal.
Oh my
And
God.
because of that, and because of my healthy ego, I don't compare myself to others. That's one thing about having a healthy ego. I really don't want to compare myself to
Sometimes you
anyone.
do. Very seldom, but sometimes you do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, of course, but it's seldom. I have other things that I need to work on within myself, but that I won't, I will not. I have a friend who, and this is a little bit different, but not only does she do the comparison, she does what I call haters gonna hate. So, like for instance, like how I just told you I was going on this big family trip this summer, and you're like, Chloe, that's great. I'll send you videos. We'll probably do some podcasts while I'm there. But I said, it's like, you're going there, you're doing this, really? Another trip? And so it's like, why are you hating? Everyone should be happy. Like Simone said, she's so happy for her friends at her young of an age when they're accomplishing things or they don't even know they're accomplishing it. And she sees how well they're doing. As women, we have to as we say in Jamaica, big up, lift each other up and really be there to support one another. Women should empower women all the time. Men, they can do whatever they want. Their egos are, as big as Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest. Okay. And they're out there because they're so competitive with each other, that they think that that's kind of like that's their club, right? They all get together. Who's got bigger balls? Who's got more money? Who's better at sports? But that's how they kind of come together, right? They're friends. Women need to support each other and say, that was amazing. I love what you just did. I'm so proud of you. You're fabulous. Know your worth. I got your back. Right? I feel like women should do that more. That's what we're also helping to promote on the podcast.
I think we all should do it together. For me, it doesn't matter woman or man. I know men who are perhaps not typical men and women who are not typical women. So I think we all, whatever our value is, it's beautiful when the ones who love you recognize your value and help you strengthening your value and holding your value and maintaining your value and not like what your friend did. If your value is and you love traveling and she like bad mouses what you do, that's a negative energy. Instead of a negative energy, choose a positive energy. I mean, if you cannot be happy for your friend, you can't say, hey, that's awesome. What an awesome trip. Oh my God, I would love to go on this trip. This sounds like a
Right.
great trip.
That's what I would do if a friend said that. I have friends that are going places all the time and I go, FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, jelly. Isn't jealous. But it's interesting you just said that because what I value is having the right people around me. And what you just said, we don't need that negative energy. So I think that value comes within. It's how much you value yourself that you can therefore value what's important to you. That's actually my takeaway is if you value yourself, then you know what values are important.
My takeaway is, because what you just said, my takeaway is have the clarity that you know your value. Because if you know your value, you can work towards your value. If you're not aware of what provides you value in this phase of your life. You don't know what makes you happy, what you enjoy, and you cannot easily make good decisions for yourself.
Absolutely. Amen to that, sister. We love you. We hear you. We blah, 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 blah. We love you. We hear you. We thank you all for listening and watching. ProblemSolver.com, No Unsolved, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, The Chutzpah Girl, Problem Solver on Instagram. We're on all social media platforms. Oh, we just started on Substack, Problem Solve Her, aka The Chutzpah Girl. We're on everything, guys. See you all soon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Just a quick note before we end. This conversation is for inspiration and empowerment only. It's not medical, mental health, or legal advice. We are not doctors, therapists, or lawyers. Just women sharing real stories and personal truth. Always seek professional guidance for your unique situation.